should be coming up live soon. waiting there, folks. Just working on the Astrodoodle. I don't know if there's anyone here yet. I'm just trying to concentrate at the moment. Let's see what's going on here. I'll be there just a second. Hello, Maria. Hi, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. Let me just say hello. I've just been working on the Astrodoodle before anybody gets here. And typically it takes a while. Greetings. This is TarotLumination. Some people, a lot of people, I don't know what to say. The notification systems do not work very well over here. So we do what we can with what we've got. Oh, Mr. Ross, good evening. Of course, sir. Welcome. As you can see, I have a calm, smiling demeanor in the face of adversity. It's amazing, isn't it? Attitude, it's all from the inside. Choosing to be happy from the inside, despite what's going on out there. Excuse me, allergies. I've got a lot of itchy, sneezy stuff going on there. I got a new prescription grade type of spray thing, which is not a steroid. So I should be okay. I hope we can hold up for the show this evening. I've got all sorts of odd things to share with you. That's it, man. Cool. Oh yeah. So I've been just, I don't know what you could call it really, just jumping around. I'm actually looking for excuses, reasons to blame things on the planets. And I've been examining my own chart. You know, you've got your charts. For anyone who's worked with TarotLumination, you've probably got an astrology chart somewhere that we have built up together and used as a reference point. Well, I have my own too. And every now and again I have to pull it up to figure out what the hell is going on. And I effectively have to give myself like a reading, like a mini reading. As you know, I love to blame everything on the planets. And so when I'm feeling, let's say, a pull over here, or a pull over here, or an emotional surge here, or emotional surge that way, I like to know what's going on. Of course, we have our immediate environment, people, places, things, the weather and stuff like that, but it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's more and more influences the further out that you go into the layers of experience. So anyway, I pulled up my own chart, and then I pulled up all the transits at the same time so I could figure out, how can I blame this on the planets? Because the reality is I'm marginal. I'm right on the margins of discombobulation. And I don't like admitting it. I like to stay in a kind of a gentle, central kind of position, observant, aware that I'm being impacted just like everyone else, and then giving myself, the 10-second rule or 5-second rule, give me a chance to absorb, understand, and respond, rather than just reacting, from the autonomic nervous system, whichever that's called, a hypothalamus or the pineal gland, or is it the pituitary? I can never remember. I'm not a scientist. Sorry about that. But anyway, all sorts of people have been getting in touch with me stating that they are seriously rattled, whatever it might be. Headaches, weird, like vision things, odd, peculiar feelings, maybe some odd dizziness. It could be anything. And I do the best I can to help. I've had a few clients recently, and I've pulled up charts and done the readings and found things that are like, I can pinpoint the problem exactly. Like Mercury is over here, or Mars is over there, and you've got blah blah over here. So there's a direct opposition. No wonder you're feeling stressed, and so on and so on. And I couldn't find anything out of the ordinary, because some of the big transits I've been personally handling for years, and so I know what they are. And so I was looking like, well, there must be some other aberrations, and then I gave up. I thought, it's not me, it's my fear, and the fear is being triggered externally. And so I started to examine that, like, what is out there that's triggering me. And then I examined my own behavior. I realized, wow, I've been absorbing a lot of frightening information, because I like to scour the news and scour all over the world for headlines here, dig bits there. I like to think of it as know the enemy. I like to know what's going on. There's a reason why they call Twitter. They switched it to X, but it's like every morning the birds come up and they Twitter, like, what's happening with you? How's the weather over at your side of the telephone pole? Not too bad. Have you seen any good pickings for food and nesting lately? Oh, okay. Who's hanging out with who lately? And all that kind of stuff. I like to know what's going on. And I do that with my little McDonald's coffee in the morning. And then I'm done. But lately, I feel that I've been taking in content and material that has been affecting me very, very deeply. And it's not the planets, it's the content from the material. And they tell you, like, if you keep watching that stuff, it's like you're poisoning your brain. And I understand it, but again, I want to know the enemy. And I'm getting at the point where my reality is that I'm frightened. That's it. I had to call it out. I am frightened. I am scared. My body is having symptoms of very, very deep, low-grade fear. And so I started to put it all together, and I'm just going to go over here. I'll show you. I'm going to have to make another video about all this completely, because we're here to, hang out, and I'm going to go through the Astrodoodle today, and then we'll maybe do a couple of readings or something. But here we are. So this is the Astrodoodle for today, so I'll come to that in a bit. But I got all these. This is what I do. Early in the morning, I come up with stuff. I've got my cup of coffee, and I'm scouring things. I've made notes about stuff that really needs to be considered. Hello, Fluffles. Yes, Fluffles, of course you can. Yep. And Mr. Ross, yes, of course. Cheers, everybody. Thank you for dropping by. And so on this particular piece of paper, I scribbled a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just going to rattle through it. And this is a way, I'm not dumping on you, I'm just itemizing these things. And these are the things, this is what I realize, it's these things that are triggering the unsettling experience in my body. It isn't just the planets. It's because the whole of Earth is under, astrological pressure of some kind, and I feel that it's a very extreme situation, because we've talked about this for years over here. The cusp point, the pivotal point between Pluto and Capricorn and Pluto and Aquarius, and anything that comes into contact or has strong links to this transit here. So of course we're talking about China and the United States, because they both have very powerful links to this astrological area right here. But that's just one thing. There's the whole Pisces, Saturn, Neptune thing over here. Oh my God, sickness, disease, betrayal, lies, deception. I keep going on and on about it. We've been dealing with it for a long time through the Virgo season, especially when Virgo, just at the end of the month. My God, my whole nervous system was just exhausted because of this transit here. Sun in Virgo at the later degrees, going through, opposing the midpoints here between Saturn and Neptune. Anyway, I can go on and on about these things. So number one, I had to figure it out. What's going on in my brain? Because I was hearing stories from other people coming to me so I did my research, and of course I found stuff on solar flares and coronal mass ejections. And there's one particular place I like to go, that's Suspicious Observers. His name is Ben. He's awesome. He's a kind of a contrarian scientist who does not conform with the mainstream media. Let's put it that way. And he was bringing up some scientific papers, basically showing that there's a strong correlation between the solar energy itself. There's the sun. It's constantly radiating energy of all kinds. CMEs, flares, dark points, bright points, 11-year cycles, and all that kind of stuff. What are the other? Milankovitch cycles and everything. And so the sun is very important, because the sun is at the epicenter of our whole life, our whole world. And so you have to take it seriously. It correlates to do with things like the climate, of course, obviously. But what they've started to find is that the solar weather, the weather itself, the random fluctuations of solar flares, coronal mass ejections, especially if you get a big CME and it points towards the Earth. So there's the Earth, there's the sun. The sun actually rotates. Okay, you can see it, or at least the astronomers can see it. And if you get a solar flare that starts over here, by the time the flare energy starts to reach Earth a few days later, like it goes like in a swirl, it's almost like a ray, because the sun moves and you can follow the rays of the solar flare, and if it has a really good direct hit on Earth, you can get very powerful things like satellites blacking out, or massive weird distortions in climate and weather, massive electronics and infrastructure things blowing up, phones not working. My tablet, I have a tablet, it went absolutely berserk a few days ago when we had a really big CME. Well, it wasn't really big, but it was direct. It was a direct hit. And at that time, my whole body was like a jittering mess. And correlations showed, dun, da, 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 solar flares affect the brain, the nervous system, especially the deepest parts of the brain, our autonomic system, pituitary, the amygdala, the pineal gland, all those bits and pieces. Crazy stuff. Who knew? I didn't know. But I'm interested in the planets ever since I was a little kid. Another thing that came up, Love Triber was getting all sorts of questions from people. People were asking, dear Love Triber, how on earth can the planets, especially Pluto, possibly impact the human experience? And of course, Love Triber, being who she is, she thought, oh, you have no idea what you're asking, dear person on the internet, who I don't know and I'll never see, but since you asked, I am going to tell you. And so it got into a really steaming hot exchange. And I was picking up on it, and I kept thinking, I better intervene here. I need to intervene. I need to let people know how Pluto impacts human experience. And so I was giving little tiny notes to Love Triber. Oh my gosh. Pluto affects us at the very, very, very depths of the soul of humanity. Remember, we've done this before, probably a couple years ago. If you look at the planets, the obvious ones, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. If you take those as 10 heavenly bodies, and you start at the top with the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the deeper you go, in other words, the farther out into the solar system, the more and more we are going towards the depth of the soul, and farther away from the solar sense of self. If you think of your sun sign, the degree of your sun sign in which house, wherever that is on your chart, that could be your solar identity. A lot of people read solar charts as the only thing in astrology, and everything else is just layers. But when you go to, Sun, Moon, your feelings, your moods, your emotions, very, very powerfully connected. Mercury, your communications. Venus, your social relationships. Mars, your necessity to survive, getting what you need, doing what you've got to do, and so on and so on. But when you get down to the transpersonal planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, it's very, very hard to discern the energy and how it affects you in your day-to-day life, because we are very conscious of sun energy, moon energy. But after that, everything else becomes very, let's say, open to interpretation. So when you get down to Pluto, we're talking the very, very depths of the soul, the least evolved part of human consciousness, of your individual consciousness, of the individual consciousness of a nation, of an empire, of a group of people, of humanity. And that's where we're being tested right now, because whenever we reach a cusp in any sign, there's always a bit of turbulence. Like when the sun just moved from Virgo to Libra, I get chest pains every time we go over a cusp, because my body feels it. I can't help it. My whole freaking body is hypersensitive to this stuff, and I guess that's how I ended up being this TarotLumination channel. Anyway, so I'm just going through the list, and then I'll get back to the point of it all. And I started to make notes about deep uneasiness. Deep uneasiness. And that's when I said, okay, is it me or what? And I've discerned that it's coming externally. So what are the external things that are very, very troubling to me? And most of it is to do with this. Because I've studied it a lot. I've written a book about it. We've been talking about it for years. It's going to be talked about for years to come, because it's really only in the last, I would say, 20 years that anybody really talked about Pluto in any depth. It started with the guy Jeffrey Green. I think it was in the 70s or 80s or 90s. I can't remember. But he was one of the first guys who really, really brought out and discussed and examined the energy of Pluto. I think I don't know if he's passed away. I would imagine he's in his 80s or something by now. But he wrote some outstanding books regarding Pluto. And of course, they were like Bibles to me. Remember, I had a huge library for astrology. It's all disappeared because my life is so nomadic. I was never able to keep things, sadly. And so anyway, going back to the deep uneasiness, at the very depth of my soul, I figured out, okay, well, let's go back to here, the depth of the soul. So we're talking about, China, USA, and then other layers on top of that, the side effects of what's going on between China and USA, because a lot of the world's transformational and extremely radical upheavals in human experience are due to a very, very sick marriage between this place and this place, and the war is being fought out right now in the form of a currency war. The currencies, the United States dollar versus the Chinese yuan, because it is a war. It's warfare. And it's affecting everybody in China, everybody in the United States. And it's all conducted and operated and managed by the United States Federal Reserve banking system. Okay? We talked about it many, many times, but we just have to keep going. Tina, good evening. Hi. And so what I noticed is, because the deeper and deeper I study, the more disturbing things become. I realize that, my God, however, calm I have managed to keep myself over the last few years, we're reaching a crisis point, a major, major crisis point, okay? So, over here, this place is in a position of very deep crisis right now, extreme crisis, and the leaders are acting out and the people are suffering. There's 300 million people here living in extreme, hyper extreme poverty. I'm talking living off about $1, whatever it is, not even $1 a day. I'm sorry, it's insane. It's crushing. I'm going to have to make another video just because of this and this. The stress between here and here is mind-boggling, because this affects the whole of planet Earth. Because once, when the United States got married to the CCP and did this global, trade exchange thing, it was done with a naivety and optimism, which is all becoming unraveled, deeply unraveled, because there's so much. Yes, Tina, sure. I think we've got 3 people lined up. We've got Gregory and Fluffles and Tina. So that's 3. That's probably about all I can handle anyway. Anyway, thank you for asking. So I'm sensing tremendous unease, because the United States is seriously unraveling right now. You might not know it, you might not feel it, you might be just having a great time watching the games, while doing your movies, going on vacation, hanging out with your barbecue friends, and all that great stuff. And everything that I talk about here is just gibberish. Okay? And sadly, that's how it is. I think more people need to know and understand what we talk about here. But a lot of people don't even want to know. What I'm noticing, again, Love Triber has been feeding me all sorts of intercommunications that she is witnessing and observing. And one of the main themes is that there are a lot of people here who do not want to know what's going on. Mostly it's because they know deep in their soul that there's something very seriously wrong. But if they actually examine it or allow it to come into their consciousness for conversation and examination, it means they would be so disrupted and so shocked and frightened that they don't want to do it. It's understandable. It's deliberately, willfully keeping their head in the sand. Understandable. Okay? But that is causing me extreme unease. The obvious ones are poverty and war for China. The other one with the United States is the immigration crisis. They're now calling it the invasion crisis. Warlike status, of course. You've probably heard about that. The other thing that's really frightening me is what's happening in Argentina and Venezuela and parts of the Middle East and Africa. It's frightening. To me, it's frightening. And the other thing that was frightening to me, I put up separate little mini video about it, is the Cloward Piven strategy, which I forgot about from years ago, but I'm going to mention it again. And I'm going to recommend that you do your own research. Let me get this out of the way. Let me do this here. Anyway, this is very disturbing stuff. It's from the 1960s, from this doctor and his wife. And it's essentially an interpretation of, Karl Marx and Engels and the Communist Manifesto and how to propagate equality in society. And it's very similar to what they're trying to do in China, of course. There's other versions of it, and there's this fellow here. This fellow here was a student of, I think it's Dr. or Professor Cloward. And it's very interesting because this is very, very scary, disturbing content. And what it does is it exposes and describes I think of it as demonic strategies by the owners of the world to literally capture humanity and turn it into one massive debt farm. One massive debt farm married to a slave camp. It's in such a way that everything, not just here, but the whole freaking planet is operated under a mechanism that is basically a copycat mechanism of the CCP. In other words, globalized communism, because that is the perfect business model for the people who own the world, and there's only a few thousand of them. But they want it all, okay? And so they're trying to impose that. And in their process of imposing it, we're dealing with the Pluto energy here. It's another whole video. Won't go into it, but I'm trying to explain my personal uneasiness so that I can dissipate, so I don't sit here wrenched in anxiety. Now, to top it off, I thought I got to find out something to make me happy. Let's dig up something. So I found some inspiration. I watched something from a young fellow called Tucker. And what made me happy is that he just speaks his mind, and a lot of people are terrified of him because he speaks very openly and truthfully, very similar to a fellow called Dr. Peterson over in Canada. Peterson and Tucker, they're creating a lot of outrage. Oh my God, Mr. Longoria, good evening. And I'm happy to say that there are a few really awesome channels on YouTube and a few other places that continue to report, I would say, news and information without being punished, like my little channel. Remember, my channel is tiny, okay? And the Grand Masters of the universe decided to punish me for about 10 days where I couldn't do anything, but now we're back. Thank you very much. The punishment is completed and over. Cheers, everybody. And some of the channels are blessed. Some of the channels that I really love, a couple of them, I love Redacted, I love the Epoch Times, I like Mark Moss and a few others. And they have managed to stay healthy and blessed as though they are the chosen channels that are allowed to continue, even though they are getting constant reminders like, be careful, don't step out too far or we'll punish you like we punished TarotLumination. Anyway, they're an inspiration to me. You can see Tucker on X. Mark, you can see on YouTube. There's the Economic Ninja. He is absolutely fierce. He's a fierce warrior for truth and honesty and integrity, love. And so I thought, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So I decided I'm going to be happy anyway. So there, I just wanted to share that with you. Now, just to be a little bit controversial, because I have to do something controversial, stir things up a tiny bit. You have money. Thank you, Tina. Here, actually, I'm going to show you over here. Hold on a second. Give me a second. I got to go back to the stage. Okay, over here. Here is a little poem that I wrote. I'm going to say it twice. Once here, and then I'm going to see if I can speak it. I doubt whether I can, because I have to read it. I have not memorized it. I'm not good at memorizing lines. Not that good. Anyway, here is my poem of inspiration. Excuse me. Cheers. If you don't know who Tucker is, I'm actually referring to Tucker Carlson. You may or may not know him, but anyway, he's kind of an outspoken truth speaker. He was a fellow who was booted off of Fox Network because he got a little bit too truthful, and the mainstream media don't like that. So anyway, he's found a new home and the best thing that could have happened is that he was released from Fox, and now he is free to roam the world, which is what he's doing. So anyway, here is the poem. There is a young fellow named Tucker who speaks on the X, where he utters a relentless truth some folks find obtuse, but he keeps going without a stutter. Ta-da! There it is. That's it. I'll do it again later, okay, just for fun. Okay. Okay, no worry, Fluffles. Got it. I see your notes there. Anyway, I've got to... Oh, God. Oh, gosh, wait a minute. Give me a second here. There was something else. I've got another whole list of stuff. Oh, God. I'm so sorry to dump all this on you. But it's actually really helping me right now. It's really like clearing up my chest. I've got a lot of chest pain because I get very tight here for if I can't figure out and process and decompress and keep my own aura clean. It gets backed up very, very quickly. These are going to probably be different whole videos, but I'm very, very concerned about the Aquarius energy incoming. It's a 20-year journey with Pluto and Aquarius, but right now the moon is on the cusp of Aquarius this very, very moment. So by nature, I am a little bit like this, okay? Hello, Ivona. The other thing is about the CCP China. My body is telling me, and other sources that I'm seeing, there's some kind of like deep, 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 deep uneasiness. And I feel it's something to do with a hot war, where China is baiting Taiwan. China is baiting Taiwan to turn it into a hot war. And Taiwan is like this. You know, Taiwan is like this, and China has like 1.4 billion people, disposable ammo, you know. And if I'm feeling the tension from here, just imagine what it's like in Taiwan, okay? They're putting up an incredibly brave front, but the spillover is mind-boggling because the CCP of China has already been at war for 20 years with the United States. The whole of planet Earth, especially in the United States, is heavily infected with CCP agendas, people, what do they call it, sleeper cells, all waiting for the big moment. And everyone's talking about the big moment. When I look at the charts, I kind of go, oh my effing God. So I'm feeling it indirectly. So okay, let me, I'm going to put all these things, hold on, let me clear everything up. Now let's just put all this stuff aside and try and stay positive, okay? Put that over here. I want to just do this very, very simply. Just get it done. We'll use it as a reference if we need to during the readings, and then we can get on with the readings. Anyway, so that you can understand my concern, please do your own research on the Cloward Piven strategy, and then you will understand my concerns. I'll put that over here for now. We can come back to that if we have to. We got post-it notes. Okay, I gotta figure out who's got. So we got Gregory, Fluffles, and Tina. Is that right? Let me just check a few things here. Gregory, Fluffles, and Tina. Yeah, okay. Alright, we can do that. Alright, I've got it. I'm just, operating behind the scenes here, getting myself organized so we can get to the actual readings themselves. Alright, we're going to do this. Alright, I'm just going to, okay. We got a reading for Gregory Ross. We have a reading for Fluffles. And we have a reading for Tina Miller. Okie dokie. So, okay, so we're good. We're organized. At least as much as we can be. Here we go. Now, we're getting very close to the end of September. We're just creeping up slowly towards a full moon. This time, the sun will be in Libra because the sun is switching. Well, it's pretty much happening right now. I don't know if you can see that, but there is the cusp point. Again, cusps make my body very kind of tense. And in a few days, we're going to have the full moon. So in other words, the moon will be in Aries and the sun will be in Libra. So guess what that does? Have a wild, wild guess. Well, I'll point it out to you. It triggers the nodal axis. Whoa! Now, it's a wide trigger, okay? Because we're actually 30 degrees away. But by sign, we're in it. So over the next 30 days, the sun is going to creep closer and closer and closer to the south node. That's going to be a trigger point of some kind. The moon is in Aquarius tonight, right now, here on a cusp. So this is a cusp, this is a cusp, and because we're heading into the Aries Libra full moon, sun's going to be about here, moon's going to be about here, and in a loose kind of way, it's going to trigger the nodal axis. So we'll probably have to do a whole separate video about that, and it's going to be under a lot of stress, of course, because you've seen this transit, you've seen this piece of sacred geometry many times over the last few weeks. Okay, this is a highly stressed aspect. All right. So just a quick examination here. Mars in Libra is not very happy. Mars in Libra is really stirring things up in China, okay, for the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. In a few days, the Sun is going to be conjoined with the Chinese Libra Sun. So that's probably going to be another thing that I haven't even put on my anxiety list. Hostilities, violence, okay? You have to look, when you look at the Chinese CCP charts, you understand that it has certain characteristics of extreme violence and abuse. It's like the energy of a marriage or a spouse that puts on a very glossy exterior, but when they go home and shut the door, they're a wife beater. You know, that it's that kind of vibe. Very, very nasty. Sorry, China, but I called it out. I see it how it is. I called it how it is. And the Aquarius moon is sitting almost exactly on top of China right now, because China has the Aquarius moon in the very early degrees. So we've got some very serious stress points coming up, just because of the sun and the moon and the nodes. Oh, whoa. So, just as a reference, just for the record, these are the global transits right now, and this is for everybody on Earth. But of course, how it affects you personally, that's a whole other story. Okay, so over there. There we go. But that's when you get into deep personal readings. I have been recommended to really boost my prices for my readings, private readings, and so on. I haven't actually done it yet. So if anybody wants to get a deep dive personal reading in the near future, please get on with it, and we'll take care of that, because eventually I'm going to have to jack up the prices. Sorry. Okay, let's go over here. I've had a few recently. They're all paid in full, and they have, you know, it's all about the scheduling, but eventually, I don't have a date, but anyway, it's something that needs to be considered. Over here, of course, we have extreme stress on the global financial system. Venus, money, very, very, very unhappy now with Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Now, of course, Mercury is also about transactions and commerce, is very happy. Now, also, again, we've got this very loose kite here. There's a loose, this big grand trine has been going on for some time. It's effectively broken now because the sun has moved out of Virgo, into Libra. So by sign, it's now derelict. But by actual degrees, it's still a very, very strong grand trine, and it still has this very powerful sextile up here, double sextile, which makes it what they call a kite. So this big fat kite here is doing two things simultaneously. It's providing a tremendous amount of earthly grounded reality check stability for the whole of human experience, while at the same time it's giving an anchor that allows the extreme sickness that is described in here, in the 12th house for the world, where Saturn's at the very early degrees, now retrograde, Neptune's retrograde at the higher degrees. So we've got this huge spread of Neptune, Pisces, Saturn energy over here to do with health, sickness, betrayal, fraud, deception, lies, abuse, all sorts of disgusting, horrible things that I hardly even dare talk about them on my channel anymore, but they are all being exposed. They have been exposed over the last few weeks while the sun was in Virgo. It's fading away because the sun is moving towards in Libra now, but it's still a tight opposition. So we're getting, it's as though, I did that thing with the flashlights a few weeks ago. But the opportunity is fading out, and Mercury, of course, will come over here for very close examinations. But in other words, we've got this very strong stabilizing energy here, which is allowing the very, very deep, deep sickness to be exposed so that we can reveal it to heal it. You've got to reveal it to heal it. And if you watch, or if you're aware of what's happening on planet Earth right now with humanity, you will understand that despite my own personal optimism at the very core, I am very disturbed because things are very, very, very sick. The sickness, again, I blame it on the planets. This is exact correlations to the worst of the worst of the worst, because it's very, very, very hard to manage and own and control these energy fields in a healthy expression, because you've got to get through the unhealthy stuff first before you can mature enough and evolve enough to be able to carry the healthy expression. Just imagine being born with this particular chart. Imagine being born with a very, very powerful Pluto with deep, deep supporting energy here. These people who will be blossoming in 20, 30 years from now, they're going to still have this imprint. And they will have something very rich and powerful at the depth of their soul, which will allow them to, I would say, carry tremendous responsibility in the field of human experience. Maybe they'll end up as politicians or business people who carry immense responsibilities because they can. When somebody has a very heavily afflicted Pluto, it can be a very bumpy ride in this lifetime. Some people, of course, rise up and they conquer that, but a lot of the time it's very, very hard. So anyway, we'll come back to this as needed. We're going to start to get on with the readings now. Okay. Let me put this on. Actually, I'm going to put all of this away. And you know what? Okay, I gotta get some shufflings going here. And so what I'm gonna do is play you my own revolutionary song, just to get everybody in the mood. It's very oldie, like very old Americana sounding type of thing. It's a 3-step waltz, if you could imagine it. Like a little marching beat. Anyway, here it is. I'm going to play this in the background while okay, I'm calling this my 2A song. It's from TarotLumination. It's pretty rough, but I hope you get something out of it. Okay. When will I stop being censored? All I'm doing is speaking the truth. Instead I am labeled as a domestic terrorist, extremist with a short fuse. The fake news just lies and suppresses. The Marxists are writing the scripts. The unaware masses get led to their slaughter while patriots try to resist. Oh, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. Yes, we still have our sweet Constitution, but it's severely being abused. Our only solution is a new revolution to take back what belongs to you and me. I'm sick of the perverts and pedos
trying to normalize child sacrifice. They revel in evil and their satanic rituals packaged in their delicious lies. No, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. It all began way back on 4th of July in 1776. The founders and fighters gave their lives for our freedom. I don't want to live through that again. You see, I'm recalling a past life from that exact time. I shed blood to shake off the chains of the tyrants and despots who owned us like cattle. But if I have to, I'll fight them again. No, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. No, you can't take us down and you can't shut us up. We got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, we've still got the second. We won't go down without a fight. There, I hope you liked it. Gotta press this.
All right, now let me just check in with everyone. Just have a brief encounter so I can catch up with the chats. Okay, here we are. Ah, there we are. Okie dokie, let's have a look. Okay, so Carnisa, what's this? Oh dang, is the Carnisa blooming? Oh, is that some kind of plant that causes allergies or something? Camiso. Oh, a yellow flowering weed. Oh, I get it. Oof, man. That would really, really scare me. I'm sorry. I'm terrified of dust. I'm terrified of these allergies and the pollution and stuff. It really, really scares me. I mean, what do they talk about? You know, oh, you have to have water, you have to have food, you have to have shelter, you need community, society, you need self-defense, you need... Those are the basics. You can last for, I don't know how many days without water, how many weeks without food, but with air, I think you can only go for a few minutes without air. Yeah. That's really scary. Yeah, okay, so let's have a look. I got notes here from Fluffles. Hold on, let me read these notes way over here in the chat. It says, just in case I come off for a second when it's my time for a read. My question is about a friend, and I just want a general reading on our relationship. Okay, well, we can do that with the situational spread. Now, when it comes to relationships, some of you know you've worked with me in private before. I use what's called my relationship spread. And it's highly specific. It's custom built, designed by. And it works really, really well. But it's quite a bit more demanding and more consuming than what we can do here on the live stuff. So I save that for personals, deep personal readings and so on. But we'll get to it. We can still handle that. Thank you, Fluffles. Tina got the money. And let's have a look. Who did I miss? Gregory's here. Tina's here. Fluffles is here. I know I saw Ivona. I'm pretty sure. There's Maria. Hi. And Jeffrey. Man. You must have a very strong, constitution, Jeffrey, to sort of get through some of the layers that you've had to endure. You set pretty high standards for yourself, and sometimes It's like there are external obstacles that don't make any sense, and then you have to go, okay, well, you got to adapt, you know? If they zig, you zag. If they zag, you zig. All right, let's have a look here. All right, where am I? I got to find the buttons. Tina's been sick 3 weeks now. Oh, God. Coughing, and then the camisa hit. Yeah. Oh, allergies, man. I never had them. I never had them until I moved over here. I was always allergy free. But, man, they are scary. Allergies are scary. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry, Tina, you have to deal with that stuff. I'm thinking of I don't like to do this, but I'm thinking of getting the pneumonia vaccine. Because I'm a little bit older than a sprightly young lad. And apparently the older you get, the more likely you are vulnerable to pneumonia. I'm scared of vaccines in general. I just don't take them. I think I had a tetanus one about 8 years ago, and that's about it. And I'm thinking of getting pneumonia because I'm thinking of getting the vaccine. I've heard it's pretty gentle, and it can last for years. It's not like the flu virus where apparently you have to get that every year. I've only ever had one flu vaccine in my life. I don't know if it really did anything. But anyway, let's get over here. Fluffles wants to find out about this friend. General reading. Okay, no problem. Let's get to work, folks. Yeah, I got this new antihistamine. I'll show you. Hold on. I've never had these things before, but I got this one. Just picked it up the other day. A Zelestine hydrochloride spray. It's a prescription. I had to go, see doctors and everything to get this stuff. And I've only used it once, and it seems to be very effective. So that's pretty cool. And I take Allegra in the morning every day. If I don't, I get a lot more sneezy. Even if I take these antihistamines, I still get sneezy. All right, I got to swap out. I got to get some water here because we're actually going to get to work now. Let's have a look. Here we go. All right, Fluffles. Curiosities, okay? Yeah, I know what you're saying, Tina. Maybe it can be adjusted. Maybe the body does adapt. I had pretty healthy ocean air for like 20 years. Like, it was rarely colder than 60 degrees and rarely hotter than 83. So, I guess you could say I was really, really spoilt for comfort. Didn't really ever need to use heaters, never needed to use air conditioning. That's why California is so beloved. It's just because it's a very, very conducive place for human living experience. Cards are very well shuffled. I'm going to go again to the last second because you can witness it for your own personal reading. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles at this point. Just basic situational spread. Let's bless this deck. Bless every single card, everyone who's here, the active participants, the future watchers, all of that good stuff. The cameras, the lights, the microphones, the internet, the cables, the algorithms, I think I said the internet, all of that. All of those good things, all the softwares, multiple softwares that I have to operate to do the show. All right, Fluffles, so what's going on? What kind of message do we have here tonight for Fluffles regarding this particular friend, this particular relationship? With the situational spread, it is literally a diagnostic tool. It covers anything and everything. So here's the situation. here's the challenges, and here's how we're going to handle it, and let's have a look at some external influences. Usually I default to the planets, but you never know. Sometimes it's personal. Let's have a look. So we've got, oh, okay, Hierophant. So this is a powerful card, and in some ways it's about doing things in a very, very orderly manner, keeping things absolutely in line with, let's say, tradition, protocols, stability, order. It's almost, in some ways it's almost sacrificial, because it's like when you when people submit to this kind of energy, it's like going through vows. It's like going through an understanding that there are energies and phenomena out there that are bigger than you, bigger than the other person, bigger than the relationship. There's energies from above, like universal truth, universal laws that apply to everyone, regardless of your moods, your opinions, your own personal subjective truth. There are universal truths that supersede everything. And so what I'm sensing here is that some people even think of this as a sort of like a formal, it's a very, very formal. There might be a lot of, let's say, formal aspects that are being highlighted in this relationship, okay, Fluffles, where you might be dealing with a person of substance, a person who, I don't want to make this personal, but in terms of the relationship dynamic that you share with this person and that person shares with you, it would have the hallmarks of something respectful, traditional, honorable, and it's important to maintain the highest levels of integrity between the self and the other, between the other and the self, and in the relationship itself. Now remember, when I do big full spreads on this stuff, we come from the understanding that, hold on, I got to do this in person. When I do the full on stuff, it's on the understanding that there's you, there's the other, and then there's a third entity called the relationship itself. Okay? And that's this thing here. And believe it or not, it has its own energy. Especially if it's sort of configured like a classic one-on-one, perhaps like the deepest friend or a marriage partner or something like that, where there's a tremendous amount of overlap and it layers that are above and beyond just trivial day-to-day, whatever it is. Oh, hey man, I saw you down the street yesterday, blah blah blah. I'm talking about perhaps like a serious committed relationship, someone that you trust and care about, and vice versa. And so there's you, there's the other, and then there's the relationship itself. And that relationship itself has its own energy field. It actually has its own astrology, if you want to know. So just bear that in mind, okay? So what I'm sensing here is that we're actually talking about the nature of the relationship itself. It's one of these sort of classical things. Let's have a look. What's the situation? Okay, it might be there's a with the Page of Swords here. You might be in a situation, Fluffles, where there might be a natural tendency, like if you have a degree of comfort with this person, and this person has a certain degree of comfort with you, which could be, described as very, let's say, I don't know, solid, pretty, something with integrity, where you feel you could trust them, they feel they can trust you, perhaps with certain information or communications that you wouldn't normally share with others and they wouldn't normally share with others. But if you have noticed that there's a kindred spirit between the both of you that is shared, you might find that what you're doing is calling out certain truths, certain subjective truth, but eventually, ultimately, up to universal truth, where, like in the mirror of relationship, this has very powerful relationship dynamics built into this, where, oh gosh, I'm going to have to go back over here, where, like, you know, in the relationship dynamic, there's you facing the other facing you. And when you get to a point where you've surmised that, you know what, I think we can trust each other, and then you might find that you're starting to communicate in ways that you would normally never do, where things like, I don't know, politics, you know, all the very dangerous subjects, sex, money, politics, and religion, all of those things, those four big no-nos, a lot of people avoid those subjects because you're guaranteed to run into a problem if you're having a unprepared conversation with somebody. But if you sense that comfort, you might be able to deal with subject matter that could be either taboo or typically like full of landmines or dangerous, but it could be also very, very comforting, like, wow, I can actually talk to someone about this stuff, whatever it is, like, and they might feel the same, like, my God, thank God I can talk to you. And you might, thank God I can talk to you. And then with the Page of Swords, it's just like, do you mind if I, you know, share something very private with you? Do you mind if I call out something that really needs to be called out? And you kind of go, oh, okay, well, you know, and so you get to that level of interchange, okay? I would say it's like, it's important that you call out the reality of your relationship dynamics with them, and that you allow them, or you invite them to call out the reality of their dynamics with you. So it's mutual, okay? What are the challenges here? Okay, so we've got the 10 of Pentacles. So what I'm sensing is that, oh gosh, I don't want to talk about money, but it's hard not to. If it might be that, you see, that like the 10 of Pentacles would over here would represent like something that pretty much everybody wants. They want stability in the home, in the family. They want assets. They want reserves. They want to know that there's generational wealth, there's legacy, there's high levels of integrity and trust that have all the most desirable and classic characteristics of abundance. Physical, material, worldly abundance. And if that's a problem here, and maybe if that's at the core of a situation where, let's say it's a very, very difficult subject to talk about, let's say that there, you know, it can be very difficult for a lot of people to talk about the subject of money, especially if it's big money in the context of a relationship. How does that affect the relationship? You might have noticed that poor people often hang out with poor people. Rich people hang out with rich people. And it's just like, you know, birds of a feather flock together. I watched a totally... it's in a doctor's office or something. You could see all these rich people over in a very rich neighborhood, a gated neighborhood. And they were all hanging out together. And you kind of had this feeling like, oh, again, birds of a feather. They're together because they resonate with each other. They share common things. It's not a lot of people are that rich, so it tended to be a very small but very, very, very expensive, gated, kind of beautiful community. And they built everything up based on this whole Ten of Pentacles type of vibe. We like our wealth, we like our privacy, we like our abundance, and we want to keep it that way. And we only want to hang out with people who feel the same way. Okay, that's why people have gated communities, I guess. But anyway, sometimes it can be an awkward subject if there's an extreme disparity in the relationship regarding money. Maybe there's wishful thinking going on somewhere. I don't feel that, but it looks like it's an awkward subject matter which needs to be called out and dealt with so that it's no longer awkward. It just needs to be, I would say, examined, like being willing to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. You know, we talked about sex, money, politics, and religion. If it's the subject of money and that's the tough one, maybe it's time to actually bring it onto the table and let's talk, you know. Hello, Esther, I see you. I don't know. Honestly, Esther, I don't think I can handle it tonight. I've been very, very, it's been a very stressful week for me, and I'm so glad to be back after like 10 days of strikes. But I've been, I'm a little bit, let's say, below par tonight. I'm already, Esther, can we do it next week? I hope that's okay. Or maybe we can arrange something private during the week, whatever. But I don't think I can handle another one tonight, okay? Thank you for asking, though. Okay, so Fluffles, let's have a look. How are we going to deal with this? If in case the subject is awkward, especially if there's a high level of integrity at the core of the relationship, and yet you still have to deal with the tricky stuff. How are we going to deal with this? Okay, very, very carefully, very, very delicately. In other words, choosing your words very, very carefully, because you might be aware that. Okay, I talked about this with Tina some time ago, about language and communication. It's like we've just come out of the Mercury retrograde period, okay? So that was going on for a while. There's Mercury, and we're retrograde, and we're direct now. We're right here after a week or so. And so we're slowly getting back into the full direct vibes for Mercury and communication. But it still could be a bit awkward, and we still have 5 other massive retrogrades here. So it's very important to move gently and very, very slowly going forward. Okay, so Fluffles, in dealing with perhaps what might be a very awkward or difficult or delicate subject that eventually has to be brought into the conversation, you have to be aware that I don't have that little list anymore, but I'm going to write it just for you again because it's very important for everybody. I use it a lot myself, but I never really shared it before. I'm going to do it like this. Who, what, when, why, where, and how. Okay. Okay, Fluffles. Who, what, when, why, where, how. Okay. Now put that all in the context of communications. Let's put Mercury, okay? Mercury. Communications. Got to be very, very careful. Mercury is in Virgo right now. Yeah, so precision is very, very important. Okay, let me just show you. Okay, Mercury is right there at about the 14-degree mark of Virgo. So it's very, very important to be very clear and precise with your words. Very, very clear. There's no room for ambiguity. And tread very slowly, very carefully. Let's say there is an issue with assets, money, wealth, stability, and the desire for all the good things that come with money. But there's an awkwardness about the energy, and it has to be called out, okay? And you don't want to get all fired up and emotional about it. It just has to be examined in a very thorough, responsible diligent way. So that with the Eight of Swords here, understanding that you don't know the answers, and that's why questions have to be asked so that they can be answered. But sometimes it's very difficult to even know how to phrase the questions. So my feeling here with the Eight of Swords is to understand and like preempt the conversation in such a way that whoever or however you move forward, delicately examining the awkward subject, whatever that is. Hello, Heather. You do so very, very carefully, almost like, here's what I would do. It's almost like preempting the whole thing. Like, I don't really want to talk about this stuff. It's very awkward, but I think we have to. There's so many issues on my mind. Let's call it 8 primary issues that I would like to, where I'd like to have some clarity, but I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to phrase the sentence. So I don't know how to phrase the questions or start the conversation or stimulate a dialogue. So please forgive me, but I feel it's very important that this thing needs to be discussed openly and clearly. And on the understanding that once we open the door to this, we talk about, let's say, item number 1, issue number 1 on the big subject, that is going to open the doorway to the next layer, and the next layer, and next layer. And in each layer as you go, just like in a scientific experiment, you don't just go crazy all over the place. You do one step at a time, and like you examine everything. Okay, well, if this, then that. Oh, well, if that, then this. And you do everything in a very systematic Virgo type way, which is very, very neutral and designed to examine the issue, put it in perspective, almost like a science experiment, so that you have clarity, the other person has clarity, which brings clarity and understanding to the relationship itself. Okay? That's the best way I can describe it right now. But somebody has to have the courage to, let's say, be the first one to initiate the awkward subjects, the awkward conversations. Okay? My feeling is that it'll be worth it. Thank you, Fluffles. I hope that helped you. Let's put this over here. Gregory, you're up. Thank you, Esther. Thank you for understanding. There we go. I'm going to put all this away. Tuck this over here. Tuck that over there. And we're going to go about over here. Tina, you're up next. I'm sorry you're still staying. It's awful. Like, ugh. It's very draining. That's why I'm thinking of doing this crazy thing. I'm so scared of vaccines. I don't take them, but I'm with my lungs the way they are. I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe I should get this pneumonia vaccine. All right, Gregory, here we go. Let's have a look, see what's going on. I got to shuffle up, so give me a moment, and we'll get right to you. Let's have a look. Okay. Thank you for the encouragement and the reality check, Gregory. All right. Cards are very nicely shuffled. Thank you very much. Now let's get on with your reading. It's going to be general. So what kind of messages do we have here tonight for Mr. Gregory Ross regarding life in the world and everything? Who knows, it might be a very, let's say, focused reading. It might be very broad spectrum. Who knows? Well, you're going to find out. All right, let's have a look, folks. Let's have a look. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges, and here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at external influences. Of course, as you know, I defaulted to the planets. Okay. So we've got the Ten of Wands, okay? My feeling is that when I look at this closely, it's a reminder that, you know, it's not over. The show's not over by any means. But we go through certain chapters in life where, if we're honest, we overload ourselves in ways that, I guess deep down we know it's unhealthy, but we can't help it because we feel compelled to get through life according to a certain type of expectation of a certain type of outcome, whatever that might be. And also, I'm sensing a lot of karma associated with this. I don't know why, but maybe it's because Saturn is in Pisces in very, very, 1 degree or something. So there's a tremendous, fierce energy of Piscean karma where I don't like saying it, I don't like admitting it, but for a lot of people, we are the cause of our own demise. We build up a lot of pressure onto ourselves without even knowing it. And especially, it's a very famous one. It's called the Saturn return. Everybody, if you keep living long enough, you get to, 29 years or so, 30 years, and you realize you're at a threshold in life where you kind of get this experience of like, oh my God, what have I done? Now, some people have an amazing Saturn return. They're blessed. And by the time they're 30 years old, they have an empire. They're famous, they're rich, they're successful. They have the perfect home, the family, the dogs, the kids, pets, whatever it is. Business and fulfillment of destiny. For some people, it's just the opposite. For a lot of people, the Saturn energy is very, very heavy. Because nobody teaches you any of this stuff when you're a kid. How many people do you know as a child were taught astrology or things like karma, all that kind of stuff? Nobody. So my feeling is that there's no point in punishing the self here because this feels like very, very long-term energy that's built up over decades, perhaps like after the first Saturn return when you were 30, and then going on, reaching to another chapter in life where, we have these other, significant milestones, and you're realizing, my God, I really, really overloaded myself, perhaps unnecessarily. And then you realize, well, I can't just stop, because it's like you've set things in momentum. Things are the way they are, and they go the way they are, and they do what they do, and that's fine. And then all of us, to some degree, we are the authors of our own demise, but also our own joy, our own happiness. And so it helps to understand that whole concept of karma. I'm just going to point it out on the chart. Why not? Since we're here, we've got a little chart. Saturn is what? I think it's like 1 degree. Let me just double check. Let's to make sure here. Yeah, you see, Gregory? Saturn is like 1.5 degrees in Pisces right now. So it's very strong. It's retrograde, and it's illustrating the I would say the like the reality check of life. So wherever that particular Saturn, I'm focusing on Saturn because I see so much pressure here. I'm sensing it from the Saturn, not the Pluto so much, not the Neptune, but over here where it's very, very tangible. Where if you're honest with yourself, you could look in the mirror and go, you know what? He's got a point. TL's got a point. There are a lot of issues and concerns that I carry on a day-to-day basis that in some ways it's not appropriate. It didn't have to be this way, but this is how it is for now. And eventually we have to reach a point of conclusion where, like if you're married to these, let's say, situations, conditions, expectations and stuff, you can't just press a button and obliterate all of it, okay? And so, like, the show must go on, but it's on the understanding that, wow, we need to do something about this, because you can't, it's not healthy to keep this as a perpetual life path business model, okay? Let's see the situation itself, okay? Okay, Ace of Wands. Okay, so we've got, okay, so there's an ice cream truck somewhere in the neighborhood, okay? So with the Ace of Wands here, to me it feels like there's enormous clarity happening for you at the moment at the same time. Remember, wands and wands. And you're looking at two sides of yourself in the mirror. That's what I'm sensing here. It's just like, it's almost like you're seeing yourself in your full glory. You're realizing, wow, you know what? The show is not over. We're just starting all over again, just like we do every morning when we wake up. But in terms of astrology, there are definitely some major thresholds that all of us have to deal with. There's always things like full moons, new moons. There's your solar returns, there's Saturn return, Jupiter return. All those things. And we have to deal with them. Some people do not measure their life in any way to do with astrology as a correlation, but I do. And I guess that's why people come to this channel, okay? So my feeling is that with the Ace of Wands over here, you're seeing like yourself in a state of pure liberation and freedom, where you can look, like looking at yourself and going, I don't have to live with all this pressure that I've created on myself, because that's how it is now, and I'm figuring it out and admitting it openly and clearly. Yeah, we have to, let's say, decompress and, what's the word? Unwind. You have to unwind that Ten of Wands so that you can activate the Ace of Wands. But it's both of them happening simultaneously. In other words, you're not going to execute and just destroy your past so that you can jump into like an imaginary Ace of Wands. You're doing both simultaneously. Like this is the okay, let me go back over here, sorry. This is long-term history. This is the moment of now and looking forward, like, wow, you know what? Bam-o! I could press the reset button anytime I want. It doesn't have to coordinate with a new moon or full moon or any kind of astrological threshold. I can just choose, do this anytime I want. And the thing is, what I'm sensing here for you, Gregory, is that number one, right now, the important thing is the realization that you have that power. This is in your command. I don't think anyone else can do it or will do it besides you. So the whole burden now on yourself is to do the Great Reset. You know, there's books about it. I've written my own book, and there is the world economic, the people who own the world, they're trying to plan their great reset for the whole planet, but you can have your own personal, private great reset for Gregory Ross, okay? It's time for new starts and new beginnings. Time to seize the moment and chart new paths, new destinies, new directions, which will unfold once the decision is made to reboot. Unwind, very, very carefully unwind the history, the past, and very gently, one day at a time, do a meticulous, one step at a time reboot. Now, what are the problems here? So this is a card of sacred opportunity, remember that. So you don't have to do that, but the energy field is very appropriate for you. Let's think of that big fat green grand earth trine right now with those huge fat sextiles onto the Pisces. Let's just say that this piece of sacred geometry here, the kite, okay, you see it here? You see that? That's the kite. That's working for you. Please consider this as a moment of sacred opportunity. That's very, very wholesome for you. All the sextiles is very heavily supported with the Pisces vibe. Okay? Might as well take full advantage. What are the challenges here? BAMO. Well, the challenge is that there's always challenges. Every day you're going to wake up and meet a new challenge. The question is, are you going to meet it face on and deal with it and put it in its place, or are you going to load it up in your backpack and just carry it around all day until more misery is created? And I'm also sensing here again, if you look in the mirror, you can realize like, wow, it's almost like when you're in a state of conflict or combat or challenges with your life, your world, your environment, your clients, the workplace, friends, family, just try to have fun and be happy in life, you bite it off in big chunks and you take it very seriously to the point like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it's almost like even the little things, even the fun things can be turned into a burden if you're not careful. And you might not realize it, but you might have spent a lifetime of what other people might think of as exercise or fun or growth or activity or trials or training or just dealing with everyday life without taking it as an extreme heavy burden. But instead, it's like all of the combats, all the wars of your life have just been put on almost like a trophy shelf, and you're actually carrying a trophy shelf full of very, very heavy trophies for the battles that you've won, but also like, what do they call, conciliation trophies for the battles that you lost. And it gets very, very heavy. And you're like, why? In other words, the challenge is waking up in the day and realizing, like, by the time the end of the day is here, you don't want to be in a state of combat wrestling the challenges. Whatever has to be solved in that day, solve it in that day. Beginning, middle, and end. And that's very difficult to do. So how are we going to do this? Let's have a look. Okay, we've got the Hierophant here again. So my feeling is, I don't think you're going to like this, Gregory, but it means having to be, to me it makes me feel as though it's having to be very, very strict with yourself and like declaring to yourself that you are going to create a new set of commandments, a new business model for life, a new strategy for life, a new set of rules for life that you never really applied before. A lot of life, of course, for a lot of people, we do it on autopilot. I do. But certain things, I have to work at it and create a certain order. It's like some of the people I respect, they create order out of chaos. They look for the things that are chaotic and not working, and they realign them or fix them so that it all works. So going forward, it looks like it's having to do, I don't think this has to be a burden, okay? It's more, it can be fun. I don't see why it shouldn't be fun. But what I'm sensing here with the Hierophant is that the way forward is to create, again, I'm thinking of the Mercury in Virgo here. We've had the whole Virgo experience. The moon, the sun just went through the whole Virgo season. Sun is now moving into Libra. And so when you're out there in the world relating to people, life in the world and everything, to me it feels like there has to be a new set of definitions about how you do things. I've got it. Creating new habits. Okay? Now, habits can be good, habits can be bad. Good habits are habits that you sort of ingrain into yourself that are what's the word? They build on the self. Here's a couple of simple ones for me. For example, I like to clean as I go, like in the kitchen or with a car or something like that. I don't like messes to pile up, so I have a tendency to do things fairly slowly. A lot of people don't like to do that because it's so much fun, so much easier just to throw your trash out the window while you're driving, or just throw your dirty laundry on a corner and just hope that it cleans itself. Whereas I have this Virgo-ish type of streak, I believe, where I clean up as I go. I tidy that. Okay, the show's over. I'm going to do this and this and this and rearrange everything like the show never happened. Okay? So it makes me feel clear and light. Okay? I can't carry the Ten of Wands. I can't do it. So that's what I'm sensing here. Like with the Hierophant, if you deep down know that you have certain bad habits that have been plaguing you for a long time and you've never dealt with it, because sometimes bad habits are fun, they're enjoyable, and you don't want to actually bust them up. But deep down you know it's not working for you. And then you realize, okay, I've got to create new habits, new protocols in ways that work for me. And it's almost like when you remove, like if you, like building, let's say building 7 new habits. You can go to all those self-help bookstores or whatever, but ultimately you're the one who has to figure it out. You know, pick 3 or pick 5 or pick 7 or something like that, and start to mitigate and put aside old bad habits that you know don't work for you. But they're so deeply ingrained, you can't stop and you don't stop, so you do. Because people are terrified of the vacuum. They're terrified of, like, what if I stop this or what if I stop that? I can't do it. Because then there's this like, what am I going to do instead? So you have to be gentle, but it's time to create, the way I'm interpreting the reading, it's time to name and identify, 3, 5, or 7 bad habits, name them, and figure out what are you going to do about it, and then create 3 or 5 or 7 new habits that you know are healthy and good for you. Whatever that might be. Relationship dynamics, food, communications, did I say exercise? Or whatever it is. Anyway, I hope that helps you. Thanks for trusting your readings with me. All right, up next we have Tina. I'm so sorry you're so sick, Tina, with all these bugs or plants or whatever it is, these weeds or something. Alrighty. Okay, I am going to... Alrighty, I am going to get shuffled up here, and then we'll come out and do the reading. Chat, give me a second here. So this plant, whatever it is, camisa something, it sounds like it's very, very important for New Mexico. And it says, wait a minute, the next time someone sneezes and lays our friend the camisa, kindly inform them that the cause of their nose tickles is actually everything else that's blooming. Huh? Okay. Camisa Anti-Defamation League. My God, if you read the enclosed brochure, it would tell you they are to be administered. Oh, God, great advice. Rehab for 3 months would be good. Okie dokie. I don't know a lot about that stuff, but thank you for the education, Gregory. Sorry, Tina, if you're... whatever it is that's in the air, like the pollen, the ragweed or something, there's so many things in the air that can mess up your lungs, your sinuses. It's just freaking mind-boggling. I never knew that until these last couple of years. I've been blessed, allergy-free, but now I understand how people suffer from allergies. It's awful. Right now, I'm pretty good because I've kept my. I've been very careful about the air that I breathe. Anyway, Tina, you're up. Let's have a look here. What kind of messages do we have here for Tina today? One last minute mini shuffle for you so that you are a witness. Okay. You good old TarotLumination situational spread. It's a very simple, very powerful diagnostic tool. Gets to the heart of the matter. A lot of times, okay? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. God. All right. So, Tina, let's have a look. All right. Here's the situation. Here's challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things. Let's have a look at the external influences. Chances are, of course, I'm going to default to the planets. Let's just have a look. The Hanged Man. Okay. I think it's a beautiful card. Some people are scared of it. They don't understand it. They don't like it. But in a way, it's very beautiful because you have to understand this is by choice. It's the energy of deliberately putting oneself in a state of suspended animation in order to deliberately switch off the natural tendency of human beings to be, let's say, willful or just consumed with their three-dimensional reality. And they realize that, wow, the only way to break this is I have to just completely blow it all up, turn myself upside down, get the blood to flow to my head. It's like, okay, the way I sometimes see this, hold on, give me a second, okay, Tina? Sometimes the way I see it is like it depends on the person, the reading, but right now what I'm sensing with the Hangman here is that it's kind of a golden opportunity, a golden moment where suspended animation may be your friend. In other words, if you're living life, a lot of people like to be very active because it makes them feel as though I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm achieving that, I'm achieving that. And for example, I had a lot of medical health care in the last few days, a ton of it, and driving back and forth. Luckily, I have a driver. I have drivers. That comes with my healthcare plan. I'm very, very blessed. And I have very lively conversations with these drivers. And I realized I'm incredibly blessed because I own a lot of my own time. But even though I own a lot of my own time, it's amazing how it gets consumed by my own expectations. And I start to do this, this, and this, and this. And then I run out of time, even though I have so much time. It's very, very weird. And the people that I was talking to, the woman, she had 3 jobs. She was a driver, she was an Amazon logistics employee, and she was a remote corporate administrator. And she has 5 kids. She has to work 70 hours a week to keep it all going. So she has Red Bull and Monster energy drinks, and she's super hyper organized, and she seems to be able to handle it. I could not function that way. I would be like... Anyway, and on the other journey, the gentleman driver, wonderful conversation. He's got a house, a beautiful house, a swimming pool, wife and a kid, and some business stuff went very bad, lost a lot of everything. Figure out the best thing he can do is become an Uber Lyft driver. So he's driving 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, stacking cash to recalibrate, rebuild his life. And here I am, I'm just like, oh, okay. Now, I can't tell them to reboot, they're doing their own thing. But in this reading for you, Tina, my feeling with I guess what I was trying to do is convey is that you might have a lifestyle where you're used to, creating your own momentum. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to achieve this and that and that, and you go out and you do it, and you have patterns and ways that you do things, and you just keep going and doing it, because that's what people call life. Your activity, your actions. And then when people get sick and they're like, wait a minute, I'm bedbound, I can't breathe, I'm sneezing all the time, I can't do anything, I'm useless. Well, my feeling with this Hanged Man is that, like it or not, this is part of some kind of grand plan from your invisible friends, the angels above, almost like it's to deliberately slow you down in some way, stop you, and force you to live in this temporary state of suspended animation where you don't have a lot of options. And so I look at it as an opportunity. Well, if that's what it is, if that's how it is, then you might as well treat it as like a reboot. When you get your whatever it is, you've got your device thing, okay, and it's acting up. You've been working it very, very hard and harder, and then one day it just stops. It starts misbehaving very badly, and it just loses a lot of functions or whatever. And you think, I'll just do another reboot. Okay, fine, and that doesn't work. And you get to the point where there's no other option except to do a complete power down. And you have to wait about 5 or 10 minutes. And then you restart it personally. And I'm not a doctor, but sometimes it works miracles. Your whole system has a chance to reset back to like factory standard. OEM, Original Equipment Manufacturing, the way you were built to be, the real Tina Miller, not the Tina Miller who's stressed out or tired or frustrated or dealing with things that are just draining you. And it gets to the point where, oh, damn, a lot of people are scared of it because it means like, I can't do anything. Paralyzed, stuck. But in a way it's a blessing, because if you treat this as a moment like, it's the universe telling me to power down, power off. I was not willing to do it myself, so the universe did it for me. Here, we're going to throw a bunch of bugs and viruses and allergies your way so that you're going to sit around and be pissed off and do nothing except be sick, be stuck in a place of suspended animation. And eventually you'll come out of it. This is not a reversal, but you'll come out of it with a smile and some kind of rejuvenation and some kind of spiritual relief. Yay! Do you see? Do you see what I'm saying? Just look at the image when you invert it. I'm not doing a reversal. I'm just trying to illustrate the deeper meaning here for you. All right, let's have a look. What's the situation itself? Okay, so with the Seven of Swords here, my feeling is that you're not very happy with certain situations where you are having to act and behave in, let's say, almost ways that are unnatural to you. Having to either conduct yourself in ways that you would not normally do for yourself or for other people. But it's like you don't have any options right now. I'm going to have to be sneaky, careful, stealthy to find ways to get through my life over the next few days, few weeks, few months. Just being very, very... being very, very careful. Extremely, extremely careful. Getting what's yours. No apologies. Doing what's right for you. It's like almost having to operate in a world where everyone's telling you up is down. and yellow is blue, and where girls are boys, and where boys are girls, and that it's like a lot of stuff that's coming out of the administration that's running this country right now. They're very, very absurd, bizarre things that don't make any sense, and you have to navigate your way through life anyway. But it means having to almost like, you might feel as though lying, cheating, betraying yourself and other people just to get through the day. But I don't see it that way. What I feel is that it's just having to be very stealthy. Like you don't have an option except to have to be, take this moment of opportunity where you're stuck and not a lot of options, and figure out going forward, well, how am I going to live my life going forward once I come out of this, which is going to happen at some point, okay? So how are you going to prepare yourself? What are you going to do when you reach that point? How are you going to go forward? My feeling is that you've got to start now having a plan to navigate your way through, to extricate yourself from the things that are not working for you, and take out what is rightfully yours, your credentials, your integrity, your strength, your truth, your honor, your justice, and screw and F off to everybody and anything else. And if they don't like it, that's their problem, okay? It's their problem, Tina. It's not you. You're just doing what you have to do to be you, okay? No apologies, all right? So, what's the problem here? Obviously, there's problems. Okay, it might feel that there are people in the way. People who believe that they are omnipotent and have supreme command and control over you and your life and your world. But remember, part of that is that that's the power that you give them, that you allow them to carry over you. And that's very, very difficult because, it's like when you're dealing with bullies at school when you're a kid, bullies in the workplace, bullies in a family, bullies in life, random bullies in public. It's very, 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 very difficult to deal with. However, bullies respect. It's almost like they respect another bully. Like here, I'm just going to, God, probably you shouldn't do that. I'm going to get myself in trouble, Tina, so I'm not going to talk about an example that I'm thinking of, something to do with China right now, the CCP and the leader, who is an extreme thug, criminal, bully of the highest order. And that encompasses the very, very, very most unhealthy and toxic expression of the beautiful Emperor card. There's nothing wrong with the Emperor card itself. It's just we're in a challenging position like this. You might be in a situation where these bullies, these self-appointed dictators, these self-appointed tyrants, or perhaps one in particular, is not surmountable. And so you realize, okay, there's no point in going to war with this. Don't go to war with it. It's futile. The best thing to do is deliberately disconnect, pull out, get out of the situation, taking all the good stuff with you, and just letting them rot in their own superiority and arrogance. So how do we do this? How do you extricate yourself from bullies or from... this is going forward. Remember, right now, you're in this place of suspended animation, but eventually you're going to come out of it, and you're going to have to figure out a plan what to do and how to deal with it. So let's go forward. Okay, this is ruthless. Okay, the Queen of Swords, it's time to exercise your girl power and basically say, enough is enough. That's it. It's a total execution. That's it. This is no longer acceptable. You have to go. That's it. Now, if it means that you have to remove yourself from the situation, that's perfect. That can be perfectly honorable, okay? It's very hard to do on yourself, especially if you feel that you deserve to be who you are, how you are, where you are, why you are, when you are, with whom you are, okay? So, give me a second here. So what I'm sensing, it's kind of ruthless. Oh gosh, little Bubba's here. I've got to. Okay, we're gonna have to go over here. Give me a second, Tina. Oh, Bubba. Okay, all the cards are out, so let me put you up here because I know you're thirsty. He has special water. Okay, he has his own special water. So Tina, the way forward here, we'll deal with little Bubba in a minute. But he's telling me he needs attention. So, with the Queen of Swords here, it's like what I'm sensing is that you might be able to bring tremendous sense of healing to yourself and get out of a state of paralysis by being utterly ruthless. Now, let's say, for example, you figured out, you know what? I really don't need this BS. You, and you. That's it. Good luck. And you don't even have to say good luck without me. And there's no arguments, there's no discussions, there's no negotiating, there's nothing. It's an execution. Oh, beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And then you figure out what to do from there. You take the Five of Swords. You go forward. And you reallocate your talents, your gifts, your resources, your ambitions, your goals, your time, your energy, your heart, and your soul in a way that is healthy for you. Oh, look who's still here. All right. Thank you, Tina. I hope that helps you. I know you're very, very in touch with all these things, your astrology and the tarot. You're a very, very, let's say, spiritually connected, very compassionate person. So I hope you can reinterpret that in your own way that makes total sense for you, and you can kind of do your own, like, I know what he's talking about. I get it. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, Bubba, what's going on? I'm going to get you all sorted out very, very soon. Thanks for visiting. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle up these cards later. Right now, thank you, Tina. Oh, I didn't touch too many nerves or hurt too many feelings or anything. Pretty much every time I do a reading, I'm always like, oh my God, I hope I haven't hurt somebody's feelings or pointed out something that they didn't really want discussed in public. Oh God. But, this is what we do here. It's an amazing thing to testify in public, to reveal ourselves in public. I know, I'll just confide that, I've been moaning, groaning for years about how my channel, the algorithm was completely crushed. And now when I see other channels dealing with it for the first time, I kind of go like, I told you. And these are big channels, and they're going like, oh my God, I can't afford to be demonetized. That's a lot of money. Okay. But I've already adapted. And after my 10-day strike period, I realized, you know what? It kind of feels okay. Because I started doing more and more work with Rumble. Oops, I'm not supposed to say that, but it's another platform. And I realize, like, I'm speaking openly and freely, unfettered, without palpitations, without chest pain or anything, because that particular platform is fervently protecting free speech, with the classic example recently of this very outspoken fellow over in England with initials RB. Just even saying the name, his name could flag this video, so I'm going to be very, very careful and not even say it. But I'm starting to just discover, this is a very, very recent discovery for myself, I'm just sharing this, that the more I stay in my own subjective truth, and the more I align my subjective truth with universal truth, the more and more I feel calm and safe and comfortable inside, and I trust ever more that I'm guided and protected, especially in what I say, how I say it, who I say it to, when I say it, where I say it, and how I say it. And that's turning into a kind of a big deal for me. And it feels like freedom. It's very liberating. And then you go back to that Marianne Williamson quote, like, when you live in your truth, you speak, and you set yourself up as an example by being honest and true with yourself in action in this world, then that signals to other people like, wow, if TL can do it, I can do it. Why not? That's the kind of thing. And some of the channels that I really like, the people that I really like, are very outspoken in terms of, I think, truth, honesty, and integrity. And that's why their channels are having so much trouble and have had so much trouble. They're not totally destroyed. Their channels are very big compared to mine, and they are in some ways protected and blessed, but they are still being attacked by the algo rhythm. And that includes human intervention into the rhytho algorithm. So anyway, you live and learn every day. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to play my little Second Amendment song again while everyone winds up and goes on their way, and I can wind out of the show, because again the delay is very, very long between when I stop transmitting here and when you stop receiving the stream over there. Okay, so thank you all. Thank you for hanging out. Love you guys. Thank you for hanging out in the chat and giving me some very illuminating topics and conversations that, I might not have ever considered. Thank you so much. I'm going to switch over here now, and we're going to bow out gracefully with my own little tune, my little music. I'm so proud of this little song. I know it's very scruffy, but I'm very, very proud of it. I'm hoping one day I can put some lyrics and make a nice video, maybe even have a really fancy glossy production. But for now, this is it. It's very much homemade sounding, very artisanal. That's the way. It's artisanal. Acoustic, handcrafted by TarotLumination. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm calling this my 2A song. It's from TarotLumination. It's pretty rough, but I hope you get something out of it. When will I stop being censored? All I'm doing is speaking the truth. Instead I am labeled as a domestic terrorist, extremist with a short fuse. The fake news just lies and suppresses. The Marxists are writing the scripts. The unaware masses get led to their slaughter while patriots try to resist. Oh, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. Yes, we still have our sweet constitution, but it's severely being abused. Our only solution is a new revolution to take back what belongs to you and me. I'm sick of the perverts and pedos trying to normalize child sacrifice. They revel in evil and their satanic rituals packaged in their delicious lies. No, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. It all began way back on 4th of July in 1776. The founders and fighters gave their lives for our freedom. I don't want to live through that again. You see, I'm recalling a past life from that exact time. I shed blood to shake off the chains of the tyrants and despots who owned us like cattle. But if I have to, I'll fight them again. Oh, you can't take me down and you can't shut me up. I got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, I've still got the second. I won't go down without a fight. No, you can't take us down and you can't shut us up. We got the First Amendment by right. And if the first one is threatened, we've still got the second. We won't go down without a fight. There, I hope you liked it. Gotta press the stop button now.
I am guided, I am protected, 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 I am guided, I am protected. When the light of hope it fades, when all faith is blown away, when all sense of trust goes down, when a smile turns into frown, when it feels there's no relief, nothing in which to believe, desperate in woe and grief, angels come reminding me, I am guided, I am protected, 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 I am guided, I am protected. Angels gather close to me, show me what I cannot see. Angels take me by the hand, lift me when I cannot stand. Angels lead me through the dark, soothe and tend a broken heart, laughing at the circumstance, crying while we sing and dance. I am guided, I am protected, 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 I am guided, I am protected,